Okay, so new language of music. Now, other than for you and half of you, nobody here knows what traditional music is all about. You know, you've seen the symbols and everything, but you don't really know what you're looking at per se. So let me tell you, to understand my language, you need to understand the traditional language a little bit. So here's a music note. When we have music notes, it tells us three things. It tells us what note we're going to push down on the piano or what tone we're going to sing, which fingers we're going to use to play them, and how long to hold the notes for. Every note you're seeing is telling you those three basic things, and then you have to process that one after the other after the other. So, to be able to tell which note to push down, there's a system of lines and spaces, and in between some of these lines are notes on a space, is what we call it. Some notes are on lines, and some notes are on spaces, and depending on which line and which space, and actually some symbols in the front of the lines as well, you determine exactly which note you're going to press down. To understand which finger you use, there are small numbers which tell you what finger to use on a certain note. However, the system is rather complicated, so just because you have a 5 over here does not mean there's a fifth finger over here doesn't mean that the fourth finger will come on the next note. It's a rather challenging system that, I imagine it to be as challenging as when people design roads. You have so many different factors that you have to deal with to get it right. And then the total beats to hold for are based on something that we call time signature, where a number tells you how many beats how many beats are in each measure or box of music. And then we have more circles, some are filled in, some are not, some have lines, some have flags. And all these different symbols tell us very, very specific amounts of time that we're going to be holding down notes for. Raise your hand if that sounds like a pain in the butt to get through. Okay, that's open everybody. So, this is Beethoven's Fürlies written with traditional music notation. This is the exact same thing written for Occupational Octaves Piano. These colored letters in boxes give the exact same information as a piece of traditional music notation. The same notes, the same fingers, and the same beats. So let me tell you exactly how it works. Every keyboard is going to be labeled very, very specifically with a set of letters put together in a very, very specific way. You'll see there are some uppercase and some lowercase. It's done with distinct purpose. For something to be what I call special needs user-friendly, clarity and ease have to be your number one priorities. That's why we use these colored rings and we label the piano. So, on our first lesson, actually not on our first lesson, Jane skipped into book 7 on our first lesson. On most people's first lesson, we get to Mary Had a Little Lamb. And in Mary Had a Little Lamb here, you'll have a green D. This is a super simple instruction. The D tells you to push on the D. The green tells you exactly which finger you're going to use. You're going to use your green finger. So just with these colored letters, we know exactly which key to press down. We know exactly which finger to use, which is great for us. The beats is a little bit more complicated. This over here is Bach's Minuet in G. This is the exact same thing written in my program for occupational octaves. So when you're doing a song like that, you count 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and you have the option to do that exact same counting with a program like this, just like a traditional music teacher. Or if you have somebody where the counting is not going to work out for one reason or another, you could just point one box after another. You hold down on the note a little longer when there's an arrow, and that gives you the timing effect that you're looking for. And all of a sudden, whether you're counting or whether you're pointing along, we have a fully special needs user-friendly approach. Now we know exactly which finger to push down, which key you're going to push down, which finger you're going to use, and how long you're going to hold each note for in the process of the pattern. So we have easy stuff like Mary Had a Little Lamb that I wrote up, and this is going to be a little bit difficult for you guys to really discern the level of challenge that's growing. If you look over here, you'll see more symbols, you'll see more circles, you'll see more instructions. That's the music getting more and more challenging, and the music continues to be able to be written using my method over here. So these are some highlights of books 1 through 8 of my program. When you get into book 5, we actually have it set up so that students play old, easy songs in a much harder format. And this gives us the ability to move in a long, long period of time. The 3-4 years that James and I, hey buddy, the 3 or 4 years that James and I have been working together, that's just the start. There's so much opportunity with something like this. We move along, it continues growing in difficulty. We have Beethoven's Steadily again, and the Blue Danube comes in Book 8, which is with that, there is a new language of music. But now that I have this new language, the question for me was, what do I do with it? Well, as much as my teacher drove me crazy, and as much as I feared that woman, she got me to be a classical piano player, which is one of the best things I've ever gotten to experience in my life. And I've gotten to think and think and think. What is it doing? What does it matter? Why? What is it all about? And what I realized is that through classical music, I was having what we would call a transcendent experience. It's something that we all experience in many, many different ways. The singers might have experienced it where you just separate from everything. You're just completely and totally focused in the moment. You're not bored. You're not over anxious. You're accomplishing things. You're motivated to try again. Getting completely and totally absorbed in something is what I was starting to feel led to that transcendent experience. So I took my entire new idea and I wrote up a classical curriculum, which is why you were just hearing the classical music, and so I've written that way. I thought it was the pinnacle. I thought it was the best that I could do. Although, you're going to hear James today playing some pop music, because he's done so much great work so far on all the classical music, I decided it was time to write something new for him. So over the past couple weeks, James and I have been getting better and better and better and better at Piano Man, and I think we should play pages 1 through 5 right now. What do you think, man?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, you know it. Come on over. Shall we push down? Just so everybody can see, this is what the music looks like that he's playing. Same exact stuff we saw over there, but this is no joke. Something's on there. Let's stand and take that. All right, so that's my man James, and a great performance. James, you're the best, buddy. You got everybody fooled. You make me look like a good teacher.